Hi everyone, my name is Zuza and this is my testimony. So, on the topic of overcoming challenges and low points in our story, I wanted to share with you a quote I heard in the movie called It's a Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. Fred Rogers, played by Tom Hanks, says, "Anything that is mentionable is manageable." And I want to share with you how God has used this quote in my life to set me on a restoration and healing journey. I was born into a Catholic family where I received the sacraments, but we really didn't practice our faith, only going to church on Christmas and Easter. When I was 7 years old, we found out that my mom is an alcoholic suffering from depression, and she turned to alcohol to try to cope with her own story. And my life took a 180, and over the next few years, it got progressively worse, up to the point where my parents had to get a divorce. This is a part of my life that I have kept secret for many years. Carrying around the weight of my wounds and brokenness led me to be a person who kept to myself. It wasn't until grade 12 where I had a reversion back to the Catholic faith, and the best way to describe it is it was a slow build-up over my high school years where God was slowly softening my heart to a point where I could mention my struggles to those He put in my life. The first time I mentioned my struggles was to a high school teacher I trusted, and God used that as a starting point to kind of slowly open my heart towards Him. And after that, there was this ripple effect happening where I was meeting new people who I could mention my struggles to, and these were people who loved me, and I knew I could be more vulnerable with them. And pretty soon I developed this small community of these amazing women, and the more I mentioned it, the more manageable my challenges became, because I now had this community where they were there to help me, and God was using them to kind of share wisdom and insights with me to help me get through those difficult moments. And I'm so grateful to God for this community I have today, because He's at the center of it, and I can bring my struggles and weaknesses to them, and I know that I'm met by love, and no one looks at me with shame. And this community's witness of receptivity to me has helped me see that this also applies when I enter prayer and go to confession. So anything that is mentionable is manageable also applies to another low point in my life where I was struggling with the sin of a pornography addiction for many years. And this was an addiction I developed during middle school as a way to try to cope with my family life. I believed the lie that it was healthy for me and that the shame I felt was normal and what I deserved. And after my reversion, I learned why my sin was so damaging, and I knew I needed to get this out of my life. So I started to go to confession for this sin, and it got to the point where when I would go to confession, it slowly became easier to confess my sin, and I was finally able to start sharing my struggles with some dear friends of mine, and my struggles started to become very manageable. I was able to find a Catholic life coach who could help me kind of develop some prayerful strategies to kind of fight off the temptations, and through mentioning these sins, I was able to learn how to fight this fight and stay close to Jesus. And by the grace of God, He was able to free me from this sin, and it no longer has a strong hold over my life. And oh my gosh, it is so freeing. Just a huge weight is off my shoulders now, and I'm so thankful for it. So thankful to God, sorry. I heard a speaker once say that God can glorify our wounds once they're healed and use them to bring others to Himself. And He's the divine physician. So, my friends, my encouragement to you is to mention your low points and struggles to God and the people He has placed in your life, because He will give you the grace to manage it and allow Him to come in to heal and restore you. Bye, everyone.